You just took the cleanest shot of your life. The ball jumped off the face first, then the club kept going and peeled a thin strip of turf out of the ground in front of where the ball was sitting. That little scar in the grass, pointing at your target. That is the whole secret. Here is the claim I am going to prove to you. You do not thin your irons because your swing is broken. You chunk them because nobody ever told you the one place your club is supposed to touch the ground, and that place is not the ball. I did not learn this from a coach. I traced it back to a dusty book most golfers have never heard of, written by a man the modern golf world quietly stopped mentioning. Stay with me, because the final piece of this puzzle comes from a golf manual printed in 1932, decades before launch monitors existed, and it describes the exact feeling that force plates confirmed almost 90 years later. And you do not need a fancy range membership, a coach, or a single new club to do this. You can test it in your own backyard this weekend with something you already own. Let me tell you how I fell into this. It started with a box of junk. About 3 years ago, I was picking through a box lot at an estate sale, the kind where you pay $8 for a crate of old tools and mystery paperbacks just to get the one thing you actually wanted. At the bottom, under a cracked bag of wooden tees, was a golf instruction book with the cover half torn off. Somebody had written in pencil in the margin of one page, 2 words, "Hit the ground," and then underlined twice, "After." After what? That is the question that would not let me sleep. Let me back up. Because to understand why those 2 pencil words mattered, you have to understand what I believed at the time. And what I believed was probably exactly what you believe right now. I thought a good iron shot meant hitting down on the ball. Every teacher I ever heard said it. Hit down, compress it, trap it against the turf. So that is what I tried to do. I would stand over an 8-iron, tell myself hit down, and then I would do one of 2 things. I would jam the club into the dirt 3 inches behind the ball and watch it dribble 40 yards. Or I would panic at the last second, lift up and scull it across the green like a line drive, fat, thin, for years. And the harder I tried to hit down, the worse it got. So when I read those pencil words, "hit the ground," after something clicked loose in my head, after the ball, not at the ball, not behind the ball. The club is supposed to reach the low point of its arc after it has already passed the ball. That sounds like a tiny distinction. It is not. It is everything. And here is the part that first made me suspicious that I had been fed a half-truth my whole golfing life. When modern coaches started putting amateurs on force plates and high-speed cameras, they measured something they called the low point. That is the exact spot where the club head reaches the bottom of its swing arc, the deepest point where it is closest to the ground. And in study after study, they found the same thing about good players. The low point of a skilled golfer's iron swing sits roughly 4 inches in front of the ball, not at it, in front of it toward the target. 4 inches. That is the length of a dollar bill folded once. The ball gets struck on the way down, while the club is still descending, and the turf gets bruised afterward, once the ball is already gone. That is why the divot is in front of the ball. The divot is not the goal. The divot is just the proof that your low point was in the right place. So I had my first answer. A good iron shot is not about hitting down harder. It is about moving the bottom of your swing forward ahead of the ball. That clue snapped into place, and I felt a little smug about it. But it opened a much bigger hole. Because if this is true, if this is measurable, provable, repeatable, then why on earth had every casual golfer I knew, myself included, never heard it explained this simply? Why was the entire message I absorbed just hit down, a phrase so vague it made me worse? Somebody, somewhere, had taken a clear idea and blurred it, and I wanted to know who and why. That is where the pencil note sent me next. Therefore, I did what I always do when a clue smells older than it should. I stopped reading modern golf tips and started digging backward, decade by decade, to find the first person who wrote this down plainly. And the trail led me to a name that used to be enormous and is now almost a ghost, Alex Morrison. In 1932, Alex Morrison published a book called A New Way to Better Golf. This man was, at the time, one of the most sought-after teachers in America. He taught in New York, he taught movie stars and champions, and his entire method was built around an idea that sounds almost rude in its simplicity. He said most golfers hang back on their right foot and try to lift the ball into the air with their hands, and he said that was the source of nearly every bad iron shot ever hit. His fix was to get the weight, the pressure, the whole center of the body moving toward the target through the strike, so that the club naturally bottomed out ahead of the ball instead of behind it. He even had his students press their weight onto the front foot and keep it there. He talked about feeling the effort go forward toward the hole, not up toward the sky. Now, here is the moment I actually said something out loud in my kitchen, because Morrison wrote this in 1932. There were no launch monitors, there were no force plates, there were no high-speed cameras breaking a swing into 1,000 frames. He could not measure low point, he had no numbers. He figured it out with his eyes and his hands and thousands of hours watching golfers. And he described, in plain words, the exact same thing those machines would confirm almost 90 years later. So the knowledge was not new, it was old. It was nearly 100 years old. Which raised the obvious, uncomfortable question: if a famous teacher spelled this out clearly in 1932, how did it get so buried that a golfer like me, and probably like you, grew up hearing nothing but a foggy hit down? And this is where the trail stops being about swing mechanics and starts being about money. Think about what the simple version cost you. Nothing. You move your weight forward, you feel your low point shift ahead of the ball, you take a divot in front of your ball, done. There is no product in that. There is nothing to sell you, nothing to renew, nothing to plug in. Now think about what got built up in its place. Somewhere along the way, the message changed from a feeling you could own for free to a problem you had to keep paying to solve. Lessons sold in packages. Launch monitors that cost as much as a used car. Subscription apps that read your swing and charge you every single month. Training aids that strap to your arms. Whole systems designed around the idea that your swing is a complicated machine that only an expert with expensive gear can diagnose. I am not saying every teacher is a villain. Plenty are wonderful, and Morrison himself charged for lessons. But I am saying that a clear, free, self-correcting idea, move your low point in front of the ball, is very hard to sell. And a vague, mysterious problem that keeps you slicing and chunking is very easy to sell over and over because you keep coming back with your wallet open. So the simple truth did not vanish by accident. It got crowded out. It got buried under a mountain of things you have to keep paying for. The pencil in that old book was somebody trying to hold on to the free version before it slipped away. I had my villain now, at least in outline, but I still did not have the how. Knowing your low point should be 4 inches forward is like knowing you should be kinder, true, and completely useless until somebody tells you exactly what to do. Morrison gave me the why. He did not give me a drill I could feel in my own hands in my own yard. That piece was still missing, and it was the piece I needed most. Let me stop here and talk to you directly, because I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking this is fine for a person with a membership at some nice club, a big open range, a bucket of 200 balls, and money to burn on gadgets. You are thinking, I do not have any of that. I have a small yard, a few old clubs in the garage, maybe a mat, and no interest in spending a fortune. So this is not really for me. It is exactly for you. In fact, the way I finally cracked this had nothing to do with a range or a coach or a launch monitor. It happened on a patch of grass behind my house with a folded bath towel. And I want to give you that first, right now, because it is the technique that changed everything and it cost you nothing. Here is what you do. Take an ordinary bath towel and fold it into a long, fat roll. Lay it on the ground. Now set a ball down about 2 inches in front of the towel on the target side. so the towel sits just behind your ball. If you like, you do not even need a ball to start, just the towel and a club. The whole task is this: swing your iron and try to brush the grass or the mat in front of the towel without clipping the towel first. That is it. If your low point is behind the ball, the way it has been your whole life, you will thump the towel. You will hear it and feel it. If your low point moves forward where it belongs, the club will sail over the towel and touch down cleanly in front of it, right where the ball is. The towel is a lie detector. It cannot be fooled, and it does not cost $40 a month. The first 10 swings I made over that towel, I hit it every single time. Thump, thump, thump. I could not believe how far back my bottoming out really was. My body had been leaning away from the target for years, and I never felt it until that towel called me out. And the fix, once I felt the problem, was almost embarrassingly small. As I started down, I let my weight move toward the front foot early, before my hands even got down to the ball. I felt like my belt buckle, my whole midsection, drifted a couple of inches toward the target as the club came down. That tiny forward shift is what carried the low point past the ball and over the towel. Nothing violent, no lunging, just an early, gentle move of pressure into the lead foot instead of hanging back and scooping. Do this 10 minutes a day in your yard for a week, and you will feel your strike change before you ever get to a course. Picture yourself out there, towel behind the ball, feeling that low point finally slide forward for the first time in years. That is the exact moment most golfers realize they were never broken. Their fundamentals just got buried, the same way this feeling did. If that towel drill lit something up for you, the complete golf fix system is where the whole trail lives in one place. First Fix walks you through the 6 fundamentals most instructors skip, with a 15-second grip audit that changes your ball flight immediately, and the setup adjustments tour players use that amateurs never hear. It is built as a structured 6-week protocol for golfers who are done guessing, so you are not chasing another random tip. You are fixing the shots that quietly cost you 5 strokes every single round. And here is a free test you can run tonight, right in your own yard. Take that folded towel, make 10 swings, and count how many times you thump it before you clear it. That number is your leak, and the books show you exactly how to close it. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. Nothing in this collection expires and nothing plugs in. It is yours to keep, because the whole point is a fix you own for free instead of one you keep renting. Now let me hand you the towel drill in full, because the way I finally cracked this had everything to do with a patch of grass and nothing to do with a range. No membership, no coach, no gadget, a towel you already own and a patch of ground. But, and this is the but that pulled me deeper, the towel taught me where my low point was. It did not fully teach me how to control exactly where it landed. I could get over the towel. I could not yet put my divot on a spot the size of a coin on demand the way a good player does. There was one more layer to this, and it turned out to be the layer the machines got obsessed with. Because when researchers actually strapped golfers to force plates and measured what the feet were doing, they found something that flat out contradicts what most weekend golfers believe about the golf swing. Most people think the swing is a rotation. You turn back, you turn through, and your weight sort of sloshes evenly side to side. What the force plate showed is that skilled golfers do something much sharper with pressure. At the top of the backswing, a good player already starts shifting pressure into the lead foot while the club is still going back. And by the time of impact, the amount of pressure sitting on that front foot is enormous in many measured swings. It reaches around 80 to 90% on the lead side, 80 to 90%, almost all of it forward at the moment of the strike. Meanwhile, the average amateur who chunks and thins is doing the opposite, hanging back, sometimes with more than half their pressure still on the trail foot at impact, trying to help the ball up. And that backward lean drops the low point behind the ball every time. So now the picture was nearly complete. The forward low point that Morrison described in 1932 and that the towel exposed in my backyard is created mostly by this early forward pressure shift into the lead foot. The feeling is not turn and rotate. The feeling is shift, then turn. Pressure moves toward the target first, and the turn happens on top of that forward pressure. I tested this on the towel when I made myself feel like I was shifting into my lead foot during the transition, pushing gently into that front heel. As the club changed direction, the club stopped hitting the towel almost immediately. When I forgot and just spun my shoulders, the towel got thumped again. The feet were the switch. The whole time, the answer was closer to the ground than I ever looked, and yet I still did not have the final tweak. Everything so far told me where the low point should be and what moved it forward. But I wanted the thing from the pencil notes a way to not just move the low point forward, but to aim it to put the divot on a chosen spot every single time. That is the piece I had been chasing since the estate sale, and I found it in the strangest place of all. I found it in the sand. Here is where it all came together, and I want to walk you through it exactly the way it landed for me, because when it hit, I actually laughed at how simple it was. The oldest teachers, the ones from Morrison's era and even before, did not have grass they could scar up all day to check their divots, but they had bunkers. And a bunker, it turns out, is the greatest low point teacher ever made, because sand shows you the truth in a way grass never can. Grass springs back, sand keeps the record. Every mark stays exactly where the club entered and exited. The drill I finally pieced together comes straight out of that old world, and it is the strange tweak that fixes your divot for good. Here it is. Draw a line. In a practice bunker, you drag a line in the sand straight across your stance, pointing at right angles to your target. On grass, you can lay down a tee or spray a little foot spray or line marker across the turf, or even just set a thin stick down as your line. The line represents where the ball would be. Now the strange part, you do not try to hit the line. You try to make your club enter the ground on the target side of the line every time. You are deliberately trying to miss the line forward. You make swing after swing, and after each one you look down and read the mark. Did the club touch down on the target side of the line where it belongs, or did it touch down behind the line where all your fat shots come from? That is the tweak. You stop aiming at the ball with your low point, and you start aiming a hand's width in front of the ball on purpose. It feels wrong. It feels like you will thin it. You will not, because the ball sits at the line and the club is still descending as it reaches the ball. It strikes the ball first and then bottoms out past the line. That forward strike is what launches the ball with that solid, compressed feeling and that piercing flight you have been chasing for years. The reason sand is the secret is that it will not let you lie to yourself. On the grass, I could half fool myself. In the sand, the entry mark is right there, and I could see, plain as day, whether I was reaching my low point behind the line or in front of it. Within one session, my marks moved from behind the line to consistently in front of it. And when I went back to the grass and then to real turf, my divot started appearing exactly where the machine said a good player's divot appears a few inches in front of where the ball had been, pointing down the target line like an arrow. So let me hand you the whole trail now, all of it in order, the way the clues finally lined up. It existed. Alex Morrison wrote it plainly in 1932 that the effort and the weight must move toward the target so the club bottoms out ahead of the ball. It got buried, crowded out by a fog of hit down and a marketplace of lessons, gadgets, and monthly subscriptions that profit far more from your confusion than from your cure. Someone kept it alive, a stranger's pencil in the margin of a broken book at an estate sale, 2 underlined words, after the ball. I traced it through force plate studies that measured the low point 4 inches forward and pressure 80 to 90% onto the lead foot at impact. And now you hold it a folded towel to expose your low point, an early pressure shift into your lead foot to move it, and a line in the sand or on the grass to aim your divot in front of the ball on purpose every single time. You do not need any of the machines to get the result the machines describe. That is the part that still gets me. Every expensive tool in modern golf is just measuring in dollars the thing you can feel for free with a towel and a line and 10 honest minutes. Try this order this weekend. First, the towel. To feel where your bottom really is and to shock yourself with how far back it has been. Second, the pressure feel shift into that lead foot as you change direction, so you are moving toward the target before the club ever gets down to the ball. Third, the line drawn in front of the ball and the strange, backward-seeming task of making your club touch the ground past it. Do those three things in that order, and your very next round will have divots you did not think you were capable of making. Here is what I really want you to take from all this. That crisp, compressed iron shot you thought was reserved for people with talent or money or a coach on speed dial was never locked away from you. It was described in plain English before your grandparents were golfing, and it got quietly replaced by things you were meant to keep paying for. You did not lack the ability. You lacked one honest sentence that nobody bothered to say clearly, and now you have it back. If you are the kind of person who would rather understand the whole trail than just grab a headline tip and move on, who wants to know not only what to do, but who figured it out and why it went missing, then you already think the way I do, and you are in the right place. So tell me one thing down in the comments. When you lay that towel behind your ball and make your first 10 swings, how many times do you thump the towel before you clear it? Be honest. I hit it 10 out of 10 my first try, so you cannot embarrass yourself worse than I already did. Leave a comment and tell me your number. I read them, and I want to know how far back your low point has been hiding. And if you want to come with me on the rest of this, subscribe and stand with the people who are digging these free, forgotten methods back out of the ground before they are gone for good. Because the next thread I am pulling is about an old grip adjustment from a 1950s instruction sheet that supposedly cures a slice in a single afternoon. No new driver required, and I think it was buried for the exact same reason this one was. Before you go, let me tell you where this goes next. Inside the Practical Wisdom Circle, I walk you through the full backyard drill, the exact thing I only pointed at here. And you can ask me your own question. A real person, me, answers you. You'd be joining thousands of old ways folks like you already in there. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. Cancel anytime. Come on in. Now that your irons are striking clean, let's fix the one thing almost everyone gets backwards with their wedges. Get this right, and those short shots finally start landing close. It's right here, starting now.